Part 124. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1231. Zibao's luck was completely proved by this. Grandpa Lusan was already in a bad state of mind, and it was only because he was talking about Zibao that Lu's father went to pick up Zibao. However, after Zibao came back, he often visited with Lu's father, and the old man got better again. Although it is not as miraculous as the blooming of dead trees, the old man eats more and more, becomes happy when he sees Zibao, and his spirit naturally improves. An old house where a treasure. Grandpa Lusan and Grandma Lusan have been living together for 5 generations, with more than 40 children and grandchildren. Even if 1 or 2 unfilial children and grandchildren ruin the family tradition, most of the children and grandchildren hope that the elderly will live a long and lasting life. Pass away. Therefore, Grandpa Lusan's family especially welcomes Zibao. As for Lu Ziwen's past behavior of avoiding Lu Ziwen because of his wealthy family and dividing the Chu-He-Han boundary with him after the founding of the People's Republic of China, they said that there was no such thing, and that there must be someone slandering him. Under such circumstances, more and more people hope that Zibao will live in Wanglu Brigade forever. Although Father Lu wanted to do something, he respected the wishes of his son and daughter-in-law, as well as Zibao's wishes. After hearing that 11 Bao wanted to stay at home and study hard and make progress every day, he wrote a letter to his son and daughter-in-law. However, he felt that Zibao might have done it on a whim. After all, he was only 6 or 7 years old. He had grown up with his parents since he was a child. He had rarely been away from his parents for a long time, especially since he was more attached to Feng Qingxiu than anyone else. If Father Lu hadn't coaxed him, he might not have come back with him. As a result, Zibao's subsequent performance overturned his idea. Zibao is becoming more and more easy to learn. He doesn't need to be reminded by anyone. He practices calligraphy when he needs to practice calligraphy and draws when he needs to draw. He especially likes to listen to everyone tell him stories, not the 4 great classics of fantasy, but Sun Tzu's Art of War and so on. He would also squat in the cowshed and pester the 4 elders to tell them stories about their wars. He would also often talk to everyone in foreign languages. The result of this situation is that Father Lu, who originally did not understand foreign languages, learned several foreign languages. Of course, it's limited to daily spoken language. In just over half a year, Zibao has almost completely transformed. If Father Lu hadn't watched his grandson change little by little every day, he would hardly have believed that he was the same person as the grandson who arrived home in May. What he looks like now is simply amazing. The knowledge of the old man and the old lady is vast, but Zibao has not learned even a hair on the fur, and he cannot withstand the cultivation day and night. No one can deny the impact that this word has on a child's life, both through words and deeds. Grandpa, 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 Zibao was still the naughty Zibao. He took off Father Lu's arm, hung his feet in the air, and swung on the swing for a while. Have you received any letters from your mother? Did you praise me? Grandpa when gave me a letter. Did Mom receive the little portrait of Zibao that I painted? Did she obediently paint a little portrait of my younger brother? Oh, and a big portrait of my father. Father Lu calculated the time and said, "It will take a few days for your mother's letter to arrive, but I believe your mother must have received the letter sent by Zibao, and she also saw the little portrait of Zibao and everyone's portraits." Guancheng often went to the city to learn medical skills, and he often went in and out of the waste dump, bringing back a large amount of paper and pens, which was enough for everyone. When Ruyu and Jin Ruoku spent their free time in their rooms writing and creating many works. The 2 elders drew many small portraits for Zibao, all kinds of portraits, and also painted portraits for everyone. On August 15th, they also painted a picture of people admiring the moon. On it are people admiring the moon. They are lifelike and painted after learning about what they saw and heard in the Wanglu Brigade, especially the busy farming scenes. Lu's father sent these works to Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1232. Stationery such as blank paper, pens, and paints can be kept at home and announced to the outside world as being for children to go to school, but the works cannot be used. For fear of causing trouble and danger, sometimes the old people admire the finished work and then directly stuff it into the Kong and destroy the body. It would be destroyed, so in Father Lu's opinion, it was better to store it in Feng Qingxiu's mysterious and magical space as a souvenir. Father Lu believed that his level was limited, but the works of these old friends amazed him. Even if they were left to his daughter-in-law and grandson as examples to copy and learn in the future, it would be better than being burned. After hearing what Father Lu said, Zibao couldn't help complaining, "It's not here yet? It's so slow. Have you forgotten? It's winter now, and it's hard to walk on the road." Father Lu touched his grandson's bald head, feeling a little guilty, because as he grew older, Zibao liked to play outside more and more, and his skin was exposed to the sun. It turned into a light wheat color. "When will the road get easier, and yesterday's letter will be in Mom's hands today?" Zibao asked. Father Lu thought for a while. It probably won't be possible in a short time. The old man was not blind to what was going on outside the window. He was well aware of the development of the country. He rubbed his grandson's head and said, "But when Zibao grows up, we will see who is interested and let him deliver the letters." He said, "I think it has great development prospects." "Okay," Zibao said loudly. Suddenly an idea flashed in his mind, and Zibao then said, "Grandpa, Grandpa, can you ask Mom to come back? Mom said she would come back. If Mom comes back, I can see her every day, and there is no need to write to Mom. It has nothing to do with us whether the letter arrives tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. He is so smart, he wants to write a letter to his mother and ask her to go home and prepare delicious food." The little guy let go of his hands and landed firmly on the ground with his feet. "I'm going to write a letter. Mom is coming back." Guan Yu came to deliver food to them. He happened to hear this and said in surprise, "Auntie is coming back. Really or not? When will she be back?" "My brother, Tianzi, and I tidied up the room together. Taking advantage of the good weather, we put the quilt on show some light." Zibao was about to say that he wanted his mother to come back, but Father Lu said first, "What's the big deal? It's Zibao who wrote a letter and wanted your aunt to come back. Whether she can come back or not is another matter. It's freezing cold over there and the road is not easy to walk. It's not like you are strong and weak. How can you dare to leave easily? Even if you come, you have to wait for the weather to warm up." Those words were like a bucket of ice water, pouring over Guan Yu's head in the middle of winter. He said listlessly, "I thought Auntie was coming back, so I was overjoyed. Now, Zibao, you and the grandpas, you have to take in the food. Forget it, I'll take it in. Don't fall and burn it. You. What kind of rice?" Zibao looked into the basket. "What kind of good meal can I get in the morning?" Steamed buns with steamed noodles, stir-fried pickles with red pepper, stir-fried goose eggs with garlic made for you individually, and brown rice porridge with corn crumbs." Guan Yu News posted the menu. The four old men in the bullpen ate happily and kept cheering. "Grandpa, eat it." Zibao pushed the fried goose egg with garlic in front of them. "Just eat it. Grandpa likes pickles." Zhou Fengshu looked at Zibao with loving eyes, and her love almost flowed out. After secretly recuperating for more than half a year, the wounds on his body have long since healed, and only his right arm has become a decoration. However, the wounds in his heart can never be healed, not only because of the treatment he received, but also because of the children he adopted. At the critical moment of life and death, he actually looked on with cold eyes, and even two people separated themselves from him. The pain caused was no less than the physical pain. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1233. Zibao looked at Zhou Fengshu with a look that was difficult for people to understand, and said accusingly, "Liar, you are not a good boy who liars. Eggs are more delicious than pickles. Who likes pickles but not eggs?" "It's a goose egg," Father Lu corrected. Their family did not raise geese, but the descendants of Grandpa Lu San's family did. Each household raised a large number of chickens, ducks, and geese on a per capita basis. Of course, each household was not allowed to have more than 3 chickens, ducks, and geese, otherwise it would be capitalism. Feng Qingxiu was not at home, so the food would not have been very good. Unable to resist, Lu's father and the Guancheng brothers tried their best to ensure Zibao's food. All the eggs laid by the 3 chickens at home were given to Zibao, and others named them to Zibao. He also gave Zibao eggs to eat, and often asked Zhang Yuejin to buy some meat and scarce non-staple foods from the city with money rather than tickets. In this way, Zibao's living standard is not too far behind that of his parents. He worked hard to move the fried goose eggs in front of Zhou Fengshu's rice bowl. "Try it if you don't believe it, it will definitely taste better than pickles." Okay, Grandpa, I appreciate your filial piety." Zhou Fengshu stretched out her chopsticks and picked up a small piece of goose egg and put it in her mouth. "Well, it's really delicious, but Grandpa likes spicy food, so I'll give Zibao the non-spicy one." Zibao said, "Let Brother Guancheng cook it tomorrow." After dinner, he wrote a letter to Feng Qingxiu, while the 5 old people turned on the radio and listened to the various messages conveyed by the radio station. Currently, this was the only way for them to know the trends in the outside world. After hearing the instructions about going to the mountains and countryside, Zhou, Xia, Chen, and Ding looked at each other. Father Lu didn't find it strange. Didn't there be people going to the mountains and countryside more than 10 years ago? But at that time, they were mainly supporting the border areas. 6 or 7 years ago, or 7 or 8 years ago, there was also a rumor that people in the city were going to the countryside. The problem of resettling intellectuals to rural areas has been very serious in recent years. For a while, intellectuals from rural areas have returned to rural areas. After downsizing, a large part of the urban population has been expelled to rural areas. I thought that sooner or later it would be impossible to resettle these people. The students who caused the trouble still went to the countryside, but I didn't expect it to happen so quickly. How did you think of this? Ding Qiaobeng asked. Zhou Fengshu nodded, thoughtfully. So, do you think going to the mountains and countryside is the only way out? Chen Onlin asked. Father Lu hummed, "It's obvious. Didn't I say that the countryside is a vast world, and you can make a lot of progress there?" At the same time in the evening, Feng Qingxiu also saw this instruction from the newspaper brought by Lu Zhang. She knew that the 10-year vigorous movement to the mountains and countryside had officially begun, and the names of educated youths would be engraved in history. Superior. Don't go through the back door and arrange your own children or the children of relatives to join the Wangla Brigade just because we are popular, or because our Wangla Brigade has good value, high production, good reputation, or some capable people. After learning that the bullpen for Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu looked at each other for a long time because of the reason why they were sent to the cowshed. Did they recruit so many old people? Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1234. After hearing his wife's words, Lu Zhang hesitated for a moment. "Isn't it possible?" Feng Qingxiu looked at him. "You have read the books I gave you. You should know clearly that those old people should not have been sent to us. Some of them died in their previous lives. This is a change. As for the issue of educated youth, the Wangla Brigade cannot be avoided, and almost most rural areas cannot avoid the fate of accepting educated youths, but many of them have never left their names in history. Lu Zhang held his wife's hand and said, "King Xiu, you are a hero and well deserved." Her resurrection seems to have only changed the fate of her own family, but in fact it has led to changes in the fate of others that are completely different from history, especially those who have been saved by her, or those who have been saved indirectly by her. Feng Qingxiu said sheepishly, "I am ashamed of myself. I am ashamed of myself. I only do things with a clear conscience." It's easy to say the words with a clear conscience, but not many people can actually do it. Lu Zhang has realized until now, "I will work harder to let you do what you like without any scruples matter." Feng Qingxiu smiled sweetly, "I'll wait." A rare night of tenderness deepened the relationship between the two. Lu Zhang got up early and went about his daily work, while Feng Qingxiu took care of the children at home and continued studying. However, the silence of not hearing anything outside the window was soon broken by uninvited people. The person coming was Su Qinghe, the wife of Ma Wei, a regimental commander under Su Junlin's division. She joined the army in June. After she and Bai Shui came to Lu's house, they dropped in every now and then. She brought her and Ma Wei's precious son Marui in, familiar with each other. "Sister-in-law, are you up?" Seeing Feng Qingxiu clearing away the pens and papers on the table, Su Qinghe said in a fuss, "Sister-in-law, what are you doing?" She stretched her head to read, but Feng Qingxiu had put away all the papers and pens with content, leaving blank paper so that she could not see anything. Feng Qingxiu said calmly, "I will practice calligraphy at home when I have nothing to do. You got up so early." Looking up at the clock on the wall, Feng Qingxiu found that it was only 8:30. In December, the sky here at 8:30 is almost as dark as 6:30 in the capital. It is just dawn. Except for the soldiers, many people are sleeping or have just woken up. Su Qinghe smiled and pushed his son, "It's Marui. He insists on coming to play with his sister." Fu Bao was lazy by nature, so she didn't wake up until dawn. She was sleeping soundly on the small kong in the south. She was wrapped in a silk quilt. After many years, the colors were still as brilliant as new, making her face look like white jade. Extraordinarily refined. "Sister," 5-year-old Marui yelled and climbed onto the kong without taking off her shoes. "Fu Bao is sleeping, Marui, please don't wake up my sister," Feng Qingxiu said immediately. She hated others waking up her children. "You sit with your mother, and auntie will get you some sweets, okay?" After hearing this, Marui stopped climbing on the kong and ran back to her mother, looking at Feng Qingxiu with bright eyes. "Why is this so embarrassing? My sister-in-law gives him sweets every time." Su Qinghe, who was sitting on the edge of the big kong, was polite and happy in his heart. No wonder everyone said that Feng Qingxiu was very generous after taking care of the children in the past 6 months. "We really had a lot to eat during the visit, but she couldn't bear to buy them all," she thought as she pushed her son. "Mom, I'll bring you some candy." "Thank you." "Thank you." Marui stretched out his hand. His palms were dirty and his fingers were black. He didn't know whether he had washed them or not. Feng Qingxiu got off the kong. The first thing she did was to carry her daughter to the inside of the big kong and sleep next to the triplets. The second thing she did was to take out 3 or 4 candies from the bamboo basket under the kong table and hand them to Marui. "Why isn't it a toffee?" Su Qinghe blurted out when he saw the hard candy in Marui's hand. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1235. Feng Qingxiu looked at her with a half-smile. "Toffee? 4 yuan a pound or 5 yuan a pound? My son's milk powder is only about 3 yuan a bag. How can I have so much spare money to buy toffee? It would be nice to have some hard candies." Do you really think she can't see through Su Qinghe's little thoughts? I don't think I can point it out, but it's just that she has been busy taking care of her body recently and is too lazy to argue with her. Now that her body has recovered to about 80%, the rest needs to be taken care of slowly, so she naturally has the energy to argue with others. Su-king waved his hands hurriedly and said affectionately, "Sister-in-law, that's not what I meant. My sister-in-law used to give Marui milk candies, but now she feels a little weird when she sees the hard candies. I don't mean anything else." "Really no, sister-in-law, don't think too much." "I didn't think much about it," Feng Qingxiu said with a smile. Su-king was speechless for a moment, preparing to deal with Feng Qingxiu even if he vomited it or not. Marui licked the hard candy in his hand, threw it out, sat down on the spot, and beat his hands and feet on the ground. Not toffee, not toffee, I want toffee, I want to eat toffee." Feng Qingxiu ignored him, turned around and picked up her little son who cried loudly after waking up, and patted his back. "Mom is here, Zhuang is not afraid anymore, Zhuang is not afraid anymore, don't scare the big ones, don't scare the small ones, just lift the ears." Okay, when he said the last sentence, one hand pinched his almost transparent ear and lifted it up. Dun Dun and Xiong also woke up, but they didn't cry. Dun Dun stretched his little hands and feet, and Xiong got up, took 2 shaky steps, sat down next to his sister, and reached out to touch her face. Fu Bao was still the same. As long as she fell asleep, it would be difficult to wake her up even if there were thunder and lightning. Su-king saw that Feng Qingxiu was only paying attention to her child and had no reaction to Marui. She looked at her son, then at Feng Qingxiu, and said awkwardly, "Sister-in-law, this. Don't Marui want to eat toffee? Why don't you mom buy it for him quickly?" Feng Qingxiu smiled and her voice was soft, like the gentle breeze and drizzle in spring. "Although high-end toffee is expensive a little, but with Comrade Ma Wei's salary, he shouldn't be able to afford it. If you can't afford it, just say no and pay him back, and I'll ask the child's father to lend him 5 yuan. Anyway, she never mentioned the matter of giving her milk candy." Su-king's face turned red and white. Marui was still crying on the ground and said loudly, "I want to eat toffee. I want to eat toffee." Feng Qingxiu said softly, "Marui, don't cry. Your father's salary has been given to your mother. If you want to eat, ask your mother to buy it for you. There is no candy at home, and the last few candies have been taken away. It's a pity that you threw it away. But there is a lot of candy in the service center. You can ask your mother to buy you whatever you want." After hearing this, Marui jumped up and grabbed Su-king's hand. "Mom, buy me candy, go, buy me candy, I want to eat toffee." Knowing that he would not be able to take advantage today, Su-king, who wanted to let Marui eat a little while Feng Qingxiu was feeding the child, bit his lower lip and had to smile at Feng Qingxiu. "Then I won't disturb you, sister-in-law. Go quickly, I won't keep you here anymore. Don't let the children cry. Don't you feel bad if they cry so much?" Su-king and his son had just left, when another one came from behind. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1236. Hearing the cry, Feng Qingxiu couldn't help but hold her forehead while letting in. The only good thing is that Zhu Quihong, who came in now, is not trying to take advantage like Su-king, but is holding a bowl of egg custard. "Sister-in-law, I made egg custard for the child in the morning. He couldn't finish it, so I gave it to Zhuang." "Thank you, Quihong." Feng Qingxiu got off the Kong and took the bowl. "When Zhuang finishes eating, I will ask Sister Tian to send the bowl to you. When returning the bowl, put some other food in the bowl as a return gift." Zhu Quihong waved her hand. "Then what's the rush? It's not like my family is waiting for bowls. By the way, Sister-in-law, tomorrow is the 100th anniversary of Mr. Su's daughter. Are you going? If so, let's keep company together. Bai Shui gave birth to a lovely daughter 3 months ago, but Sujunlin was so happy that she almost told the world. Feng Qingxiu had visited Bai Shui and her daughter just the day before yesterday and had given them a lot of things. At that time, she told them that she would not be coming for 100 days because there should be a lot of people coming that day. Even if there was no need to give gifts, Sujunlin's duties were there. From a good family background, in the past, I was always thinking about it, but I was afraid that my mother and son would appear and steal the spotlight from Bai Shui and her daughter, and I was also afraid that the crowd would cause Zhuang to cry endlessly. Bai Shui was very understanding and said you're welcome. They didn't plan to hold a 100-day banquet anyway. The limelight is tight, who dares to take risks? Not to mention the full moon banquet and the 100-day banquet, even the first-year banquet and ordinary birthdays, no one has ever celebrated it for their children. When Bai Shui's daughter turned 100 days old, it happened to be the 28th of December, Dun Dun's first birthday, and the 29th was the birthday of Xiong and Zhuang. They were obviously triplets, but they had 2 different birthdays. Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu didn't celebrate their children's birthdays. 29 took them to take photos and then cooked noodles with chicken soup. Soft and rotten noodles, Dun and Xiong are happy to eat them, and there is no need to worry at all. Zhuang is different. He hums and groans, and it takes a long time before he is willing to take a bite, which is very symptom of some stunting. After finally coaxing Zhuang to eat less than half a bowl of noodles, Lu Zhang let out a long breath. The 29th was the weekend. Lu Zhang had a rest and his family of 6 was very happy. The letter from home arrived at this time. After reading Zibao's letter, Feng Qingxiu was silent for a long time. Although she didn't want to be separated from her child for a long time, causing an irreversible gap between parents and children, but when it came to Zibao's study, she knew how much benefit Zibao would get from studying with those old people, so she hesitated. Lu Zhang took the letter and read it over. Since Zibao is willing to stay at home, let him live at home. When he doesn't want to, then ask Dad or Guancheng to send him back. I will treat it as a big deal. Zibao Bao is not a child anymore. He has been very naughty since he was a child. If there is nothing interesting for him, how can he stay at home and not come back? He is only 6.5 years old, why is he not young? Feng Qingxiu gave him a white look. Lu Zhang said innocently, I started enlightenment at the age of 3 and went to school at the age of 5. My brother is the same as me. Who doesn't bear more responsibility than Zibao? It's because you doted on him too much, and the times have changed, that he started practicing at the age of 5. I started learning Chinese characters at the age of 6. Now that I think about it, Zibao is already a little behind me. Let him work harder and catch up. Feng Qingxiu snorted, don't you know what is better than blue? Don't underestimate my Zibao. There are so many masters teaching him, just wait. In less than 10 years, you will be taking pictures no horse can match Zibao's knowledge. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1237. Lu Zhang joined the army at the age of 16. How much did he learn from Lu's father and teachers? Sometimes, Lu's father said that he didn't teach him much. Now he can only let him read more and study more to avoid becoming a reckless man. Zibao was different. More than half of his more than 20 teachers were Taishan Baidu from all walks of life. The ones with the lowest status were all local famous teachers. They were all famous in the world, and they taught him so carefully. 10 years later, Feng Qingxiu held his position. With a face on her face, she couldn't imagine how amazing her son was. That would definitely make her mother so proud that her tail would be raised. That's what Father Lu's intention was. Lu Jiang saw his wife's eyes shining brightly, her face becoming more and more pink and translucent, and she finally returned to the good complexion she had when she was newlywed. He couldn't help but laugh and said, "Are you so confident in Zibao?" Of course, if a mother doesn't believe her son, who can she believe? What surprised Feng Qingxiu the most was that Zibao was able to learn and persevere, and even volunteered to stay at home to study with a group of masters. This was completely beyond her expectation. He clearly said in the last letter that he missed his parents. Feng Qingxiu was very sad for a while, especially thinking about her eldest son who had been away from her for more than half a year. Lu Jiang didn't argue with her and shook the letter. "Zibao wants you to go home. What do you think?" This kid actually used crooked foreign language in the letter to bully him. Didn't he recognize him? Later he started learning foreign languages from his wife. Go home. Oh, by the way, Zibao urged her to go home in the letter. No wonder the brat took the initiative to stay at home. Feng Qingxiu thought seriously for a moment. It's too cold now. I'm afraid of freezing. Zhuang will definitely not be able to move. Lu Jiang knew she was moved when he heard this. Do you want to wait until it's warmer and your body can withstand the torment on the road before going back? Feng Qingxiu nodded. I have lived here for a long time, and I also miss our mud tile house. Fu Bao and the triplets were both born outside. Fu Bao even returned home once, and the triplets also. I don't know where my home is. The most important thing is. At this point, she sighed, as your prestige grows, except for a few pricks who think you are young, most of the brothers are convinced by you, which has also led to more and more people in the family compound having ordinary relationships. The military family members often come to visit our house. I'm not bothered by their frequent visits. I just feel that if things continue like this, it's not good for you, and it's not good for Zhuang's health. Feng Qingxiu was full of emotions. Some of the people who came to visit us deliberately came to take advantage, some wanted to curry favor with us, some were just normal neighbors, and a few occasionally brought children around the same age as Fu Bao and the triplets. Come here, the older one often fights with Fu Bao, and the younger one also rolls on the Kong to grab things, which makes me unable to study peacefully. While she didn't have to work, while her teacher and a group of masters lived in the Wanglu Brigade, Feng Qingxiu felt that she should go back and receive their teachings. The comments and teachings in letters could no longer satisfy her. After hearing the conversation between his parents, Fu Bao thought of long ago and touched his butt. Marui pushed me, my butt hurts so much. Lu Jiang didn't know who Marui was, so Feng Qingxiu said, the son of a regiment leader under Mr. Su. That regiment leader's name is Ma Wei. His wife comes to our house most frequently. I taught him a lesson. I haven't been here for the past 2 days. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1238. Now that Feng Qingxiu had made a decision, Lu Jiang sent a letter home and asked Guan Cheng, Lu Tianzi, and Guan Yukai-chun to pick her up. Although Lu Jiang was reluctant to live in 2 places with his wife and children, he knew very well that his wife had considered all aspects of the issue. As she said herself, the first was children, the second was study, and the third was interpersonal relationships in the family compound. Lu Jiang never felt that as he had a high status, he had to let people with a low status fawn over him and his wife and children. It was okay to be respectful, but flattering was too much. This kind of behavior was very bad and should not be established in the family compound. Once the atmosphere is established, it will be difficult for soldiers and their families in the army to get along equally. Coupled with the fact that the Soviet Union was about to take action and the Northwest military region was ready, Lu Jiang's work became increasingly busy. He spent most of his time in the military or at the headquarters, discussing various border defense issues. It is the best choice for my wife and children to leave temporarily. Therefore, Lu Jiang especially cherishes the time he spends with his wife and children. What worries them the most is Zhuang. He has always been sick at 1 year old. On the other hand, Dun Dun and Seong Seong were white and fat, as strong as calves, and they walked around the house on their short legs. He opened his mouth, revealing 2 almost identical front teeth, and then drooled. Ah, Seong Seong opened his mouth wide at Fu Bao. Fu Bao looked at the egg custard in the bowl, took a spoonful and put it in his mouth, and gave the next spoonful to Dun Dun. Seong Seong was so bad that he lowered his head towards Dun Dun's belly and knocked him to the ground. Seeing Dun Dun sitting on the ground crying, he happily moved to Fu Bao and continued to open his mouth wide. Ah! Little bear, why are you so bad? Bad children don't have egg custard. Fu Bao put the bowl on the chair and went to hug Dun Dun with difficulty, but Dun Dun was wearing too thick a cotton jacket and trousers, and Fu Bao was chubby. I couldn't wrap my arms around him and couldn't hold him, so he finally fell to the ground and said, Dun Dun, you are really too heavy, I can't even hold you. Dun Dun thought his sister was playing with him, so he immediately burst into laughter and stretched out his arm towards her. Sister. Dun Dun, you are a good baby. After Fu Bao praised him, he turned to look at the unruly Seong Seong, only to find that he accidentally dropped the bowl to the ground. The bowl shattered and the golden egg custard scattered everywhere. Bear, Fu Bao shouted, fiercely. Seong Seong lay on the ground, sticking his butt out, and was about to lick the egg custard mixed in the broken porcelain pieces when Lu Zhang picked him up. His big hands grasped the strap at the back of Xiangxiang's cotton jumpsuit, and Xiangxiang's limbs moved in mid-air. While paddling, he didn't forget to look back to see who was catching him. Lu Erxian, Lu Zhang was so angry that his face was livid. Why are you such a naughty kid? Do you know that you are only 1 year old? The 1-year-old baby is sitting on the kong waiting for everyone to feed him. He turned around in a flash. Seong Seong blinked his big black eyes, screamed, and looked at the egg custard on the ground with longing eyes. Feng Qingxiu was sitting on the kong feeding Zhuang Zhuang. She finally coaxed Zhuang Zhuang to take a bite of egg custard. When she turned around and saw this scene, her headache almost exploded. Okay, quickly sweep up the broken porcelain pieces. Don't get stuck, it can reach the children's hands and feet and prevent them from falling on it. Lu Zhang put Seong Seong on the kong and quickly went to sweep the floor. Dun Dun looked at the empty chair, flattened his mouth, and big tears finally rolled down from his honest eyes. Don't cry, Dun Dun. Don't cry, Dun Dun. Fu Bao was only a little over 4 years old. He couldn't coax his younger brother. He was so anxious that he screamed and stamped his feet. Dad, Dad, do you still have the egg custard? Dun Dun cried. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1239. After Lu Zhang finished sweeping the floor, he brought another portion of egg custard that he had steamed before to feed Dun Dun. Seeing the food, Dun Dun broke down in tears and smiled, and Fu Bao became happy. Seong Seong crawled around on the kong, climbed up to Feng Qingxiu, stared at the egg custard in her bowl, and opened his mouth with a loud sound, and the saliva flowed out, dripping on the bib pocket, and he laughed. Flattery face. Feng Qingxiu was angry and laughed, and took a spoonful to feed him. The little guy was very happy and sat in front of his mother and refused to leave. Compared with Dun Dun and Seong Seong, who can already walk, Zhuang Zhuang can only sit. After all, when his 2 brothers could sit, his arms and legs were so weak that he could not crawl or lift his head. Now he is sitting in his mother's arms. He actually made everyone feel happy. His appearance is completely different from his 2 brothers who were born from the same birth. His eyebrows are picturesque and his facial features are as delicate as a porcelain doll. Like Feng Qingxiu, mother and son are exactly the same, more similar than Fu Bao. Although Dun Dun and Xiong Xiong resemble Lu Jiang, they are only 50% similar, and the other 50% are unknown. Zhuang was thin and had a small appetite, so more than half of the half bowl of egg custard went into Xiong Xiong's mouth. Xiong Xiong patted his belly after eating and drinking. "Are you full?" Feng Qingxiu asked. Xiong Xiangao nodded matter-of-factly, exposed his front teeth, sat down, lay back, then turned over and fell asleep. After a while, he turned over again and slept on his stomach with his butt sticking out. "In addition to eating, I sleep. Just like a pig. How about just calling him a pig?" "What do you call him, a bear?" Feng Qingxiu glanced at her fourth son and turned it over. "He was evil and overbearing. I don't know how she and Lu Jiang gave birth to a child. For such a son, he must be well educated when he returns home, lest he really becomes a bad boy, and as parents, they are really to blame." Lu Jiang put Dun Dun, who was dozing on the Kong, and the two brothers slept side by side, and then he held his daughter in his arms. "We, Fu Bao, are still good and help our parents take care of our younger brother," Lu Jiang praised. Fu Bao smiled and said, "I am a good boy and Xiong Xiong is a bad boy. How about not giving the eggs to Xiong Xiong? He broke the bowl." "Yes, when Xiong Xiong grows up, punish him to earn money to buy us a bowl," Lu Jiang said. After playing with Zhuang for a while, Feng Qingxiu finally coaxed him to sleep. Feng Qingxiu covered him with a quilt, shook his sore arms, and sighed, "I still haven't fully recovered. Now that I have held Zhuang for a long time, my arms it's so sour." Lu Jiang said distressedly, "You just look recovered from the outside, but you have no foundation at all. You have to take good care of yourself and take good care of yourself. I want to stay with you for the rest of my life, and I will definitely take good care of you and strive to get back to health as soon as possible." Feng Qingxiu held her head high and clenched her fists. When Fu Bao saw this, he followed suit and said in a high-spirited voice, "Dad, I want to stay with you forever and be your little cotton-padded jacket." Bai Shui said to Feng Qingxiu that her daughter was a caring little cotton-padded jacket, and Fu Bao heard it. From then on, she regarded herself as a little cotton-padded jacket. Sometimes she was her father's little cotton-padded jacket, sometimes she was her mother's little cotton-padded jacket, and sometimes she was also her father's little cotton-padded jacket. "My brother's little cotton-padded jacket." Lu Jiang pulled his fingers with her. "You said so, Fu Bao, what if you regret it? Hang yourself with a hook, and you won't be able to change it for 100 years, Fu Bao shook the hands of father and son that were linked together. His dimples were sweet. The leisurely and happy time did not last long. Just after New Year's Day, the peace was broken by a reporting letter, which not only broke the peace of the army, but also broke the peace of the family compound. In an instant, a huge wave arose. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1240. "What did you say?" Feng Qingxiu hugged her youngest son and looked at Lu Jiang, unable to believe what she heard. Lu Jiang said verbatim, "Li Shuitian and Cao Hongzhu were reported, saying that they undermined the revolution and damaged the country's image. Now the superiors have ordered that Li Shuitian be completely expelled from the army." Feng Qingxiu frowned. When did Li Shuitian undermine the revolution? Did he destroy the country's image? Because of Cao Hongzhu's uproar, Li Shuitian acted very low-key and always lived in seclusion with his wife. Although he was a bit lonely and withdrawn, it did not affect his work and he got along well with everyone. Gradually no one paid attention to them. Naturally, no one mentioned what Cao Hongzhu had done, and neither the subsequent soldiers nor their family members who accompanied the army knew about it. "Do you still remember what we said to Chenju when Cao Hongzhu reported us?" After listening to Lu Jiang's words, Feng Qingxiu thought about it carefully and said hesitantly, "Did she say something like Yi Zi eating each other?" The most touching part of her accusation against Chenju was about the death of her son. Hateful people must have pity. And because Cao Hongju never did such a thing again, Li Shuitian secretly helped Lu Zhang to compensate for his wife's death. Lu Zhang he Feng Qingxiu had no intention of retaliating against Cao Hongju. Lu Jiang's eyes were solemn and he said, "Yes, this is the trouble the sentence brings to them." "What? Are these the words she said back then?" Feng Qingxiu felt incredible. "How many years has it been? Although I can't remember the specific year, it must have been several years, right? Who dug this up as a report? Reason?" Lu Zhang sighed. She said people were starving to death, and she mentioned Yi Zi eating each other. In the eyes of some people, it is damaging the image of the country. It's not like this kind of thing has never happened before, but he didn't expect it to happen to him. Feng Qingxiu shivered, and the arms holding her youngest son tightened immediately. Zhuang felt a little uncomfortable, twisted his body, and uttered two words from his small mouth, "Mom." The voice was not high, but the words were spoken in a clear and precise manner, which made a pair of parents express surprise. "Can Zhuang talk? Can Zhuang call Mom, although it is normal for a 1-year-old child not to speak?" After all, Zibao learned to talk relatively late, but Zhuang's opening gave them a completely different feeling. Because of this, Lu Zhang put the matter of Li Shuitian and his wife behind and reached out to hug him. "Zhuang, can you speak? Call Daddy. Come on, call Daddy." They carefully raised their youngest son to 1-year-old. To be honest, only they knew the hard work. 360 days a year, Zhuang spends nearly one-half of his time suffering from illness. Zhuang lay on his father's shoulder, drooling, smiling and saying nothing. Dun, who was sitting on the south kong, was playing with his rattle and the little tin frog. Xiong, who was lying on the big kong, was watching the little tin frog jumping attentively. When he saw that it stopped jumping, he immediately pointed at it and barked at Fubao, yelling loudly and with a very fierce attitude. Fubao was unhappy. "You have to call me sister. If you don't call me, I won't do it for you." "Sister," the two words came out loudly, and the little bear was also very eye-catching and clever. "That's right." Fubao twisted the spring, and the little frog placed on the kong immediately jumped up. Xiong danced with joy, and even lying on the kong did not affect the waving of his arms and legs. The cheerful atmosphere at home still couldn't relieve Feng Qingxiu's worries, so she returned to the topic and asked, "Why were Li Shuitian fired?" Lu Zhang raised his face and looked at the roof. Before he could speak, Li Shuitian's voice came from outside.